Hey friends, it's Tracy. Welcome to today's video. This is a highly requested video because ever since I shared my primitive country Santa bottles last July in my Christmas in July crafts, and I did it. I was doing it on a Facebook Live, and guys, I was having so many issues. I ended up having to start and stop the video 3 different times, and so it was kind of choppy, so I apologize. So what I did is I put this video together just to kind of show you from start to finish how I create my primitive country kind of vintagey vibe Santa bottles, just using some bottles, some root beer bottles, some wine cooler bottles, beer bottles would work, Coke bottles, or anything like that. So guys, let me go ahead and share how I create these cutie patooties. To start my Santa bottles, I'm starting with some clear bottles. Now, regular beer bottles will work, or any kind of wine bottles. I've done all of those before too, but these are just clear bottles. My son drinks root beer out of them, and then also my wine coolers, and I don't know, they're just really too good to throw away. If you can recreate something and upcycle something, if you're not going to, of course, recycle it. Anyway, so what I'm doing is, guys, I am putting on a coat of chalk paint, and what I did to give it a little bit of texture is I just took some regular baking soda out of my kitchen, and I just mixed it in with my acrylic paint, and so then I'm just giving it a coat of that. Now I choose to, when I'm painting bottles or something like that, chalk paint does seem to adhere a lot better than just regular acrylic paint. You'll need to have some kind of primer or something like that, but chalk paint adheres very well, and I wanted more of a texture to my paint. So what I did is I just mixed some baking soda in with the paint, or the chalk paint. I painted my bottles a coat of plaster first, just to give it like an undercoat, and then all I needed was 1 coat of the red mixed with the baking soda, just to give it a little bit of a thicker texture, and I like that for my painted projects, especially on glass. I usually paint the bottom first, let that dry, and then paint the top. All right, so now I'm using medium flesh acrylic paint and then a flat paintbrush, and then just kind of eyeballing a circle. This is going to be my Santa face. And so usually 1 coat does well if I give it a pretty good coverage. And then I just am going to start the beard. Now I like to use the caulk from the Dollar Tree, or you can get it from, any home improvement store, Walmart, that kind of thing. But I just pick it up at Dollar Tree. And then I just kind of, just start putting it on, kind of like, you are going to decorate a cupcake or a cake or something like that. Just kind of put that on, and then I just use a little stick, kind of spread it around, just kind of like you're frosting a cupcake. And I go down a little bit more at the bottom, kind of like where the beard would be. And then also I do just some little eyebrows, just give a couple of, just kind of above, like where the little eyes would go, and then that is going to be really cute. Now I let this dry completely. It does take several hours. I usually just let it dry overnight, so I don't risk putting my fingers in it and messing it up. All right, so then now I'm just taking a stencil brush and some coral color paint and just stippling on some cheeks. Then I will go back and add just some eyes. Now I like the more almond shaped eyes. If you've been following me for a while, you know that is the type of eyes that I like, but you can draw eyes several different ways. So what I was showing first is I'm going to be putting a little wood plug in for the nose, but so I was just trying to see my position. And then once those are all dry, then what I do is I am going to add some distressing, and I just take some milk chocolate acrylic paint and then some water, and I'm just mix it in just a little cup, and to get the thickness that I like. Now how I choose to distress, my method is different than other people's, but what I do here is I am just you know, I don't want it to be so white. So I am just kind of stippling it on, and I kind of like made a stain is what I did. And so then I just take a tissue or a baby wipe just to, you know, dab off the excess. But I like the way that it looks. You know, see, here is the white and then the one with the distressing. I like that a lot better. And then once I do that, then I just go back and add some paint, some black paint in for the eyes. I don't know, this is just my process of how I do it, you know, kind of the order that I do it. And so I just, you know, filled it in with the black paint. Then using my little detailing brush, the one that has been with me for many, many years, I just go and make some eyelashes. And then I just use that same detailing brush and add some of the whimsical features just with some white paint in my little detailing brush just to add some lines on the cheeks. I like that look like that. And then what we're going to do now is add the white of the eyes. Just, you know, depending on where you are, how you put the white in the eyes depends on how Santa's looking. Now, I like to use these 3/8 inch wood plugs that I get from Hobby Lobby for my Santa bottles. Those are kind of the size that I like to use for that. So then I just glue those wood plugs there, and then I take some of that coral paint and just, you know, dab some of that on so that it gives him a rosy nose. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some little white swoosh to his nose so that, you know, just kind of give him a little swooshy nose. And then I'm going to add some splatter paint, and I was making several of these Santa bottles at one time because I have going to be using them for different things. And so I'm just adding the paint splatter black, and then I go back and add the paint splatter white. And then for my Santa beard, I'm using this glitter paint. It's diamond. I just have the smaller tube of it. And I just go and just kind of smear a little bit of that on the Santa beard because I like that little shimmer. And I know it just doesn't show up too good on camera, but yes, it's there. For my Santa's beard, I'm using this yarn. Now, I've had this particular skein for several years, but the closest that I can find is this homespun yarn over at Michael's. Okay, so to make my Santa beard, depending on how big, you know, how big the face is, will depend on how many times I wrap the yarn around my fingers. But for these Santa bottles, what I'm doing is wrapping them around 3 or 4 times. Then I cut off a little piece and then I tie it in the middle. Then I'm using my Cutter Bee scissors. They're just little short scissors like this. And you can find these in the craft store or you can find them on Amazon. And the reason I mention that is because I do get questions about where you can find those little Cutter Bee scissors. Anyway, so then I just go through and make, or actually I go through and cut the loops apart, and then I trim off the beard just to, you know, my liking, so it's not so thick. And then I just hot glue it there right underneath the nose. And then I'll take my scissors and just trim off any fuzzies that may, you know, or little stragglers that I, you know, don't like for each individual beard. You know, each one, it's its own creation and turns out a little bit different. For his hat, I could not find any socks that I liked at the time that I was going to be doing this video. So I decided to paint my own. So what I have here are just some white socks that I got from the Dollar Tree, and then I brought them home and I just made an instant coffee stain just to coffee stain them. And how I do that is just, you know, put a bowl of water and then I just sprinkle in some instant coffee to the darkness that I like. And then I just soak them for a little bit until I get the I guess the stain that I like, and then I let them dry, and then they're ready to go to paint on. So I'm choosing to paint on these because I couldn't find any striped socks. And so I'm going to show you here how you can create your own just with some paint. Now, guys, I am just using a red acrylic paint, but right here I'm showing you you can also use fabric paint. And the reason that I'm showing you both of those, because if you use the fabric paint, it's a little bit more soft on the fabric versus, you know, just the acrylic paint. Sometimes when you paint on it, it makes a little hard on it. So what you can do if you don't want your paint to be hard, then you'll need something like a gloss medium or acrylic medium rather, that you can just get anywhere paint is sold. It's usually just something that you mix parts into, like the same part into it, and it doesn't change the color or anything of the acrylic paint, but what it does is that when you paint it on the fabric, it gives it a softness that you know you have, so that you don't have that hard paint on it. But these are just going to be Santa hats, and they're just fine. They're really just fine. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I am just going to be putting this on my bottle, and I just kind of, play around with it to get the placement that I like. I also add some polyfill, some stuffing in it just to, give it a little bit of thickness. So I just kind of play around with it, glue it as I go along, kind of scrunch it up, and just, make my little Santa bottles look really cute. Then I just pulled out some cheesecloth that I also coffee stained. I got this cheesecloth at Walmart in the canning section. And so I just coffee stained that and let that dry so that I would have it for my little primitive country crafts, just like this. I also have some of that red and green homespun that I love so much. And again, you can get homespun at different places like Hobby Lobby, Walmart, also JubileeFabric.com is another place that you can get some wonderful fabric. All right, so then now I'm just continuing to start adding the embellishments to my little Santa hat. And guys, what I usually do is I usually cut the end of the sock. I'll show you that here real quick. What I do is I just take my little pinking shears and I just make some slits in it just to kind of give it like the fuzzy look, I guess, on the end. And so at this point I had forgotten to do that, but I go back later and do that. So what I'm doing is this: I have these 32 millimeter jingle bells that I picked up from Hobby Lobby, and I have that same brown wire from Michael's that I have been using. It is kind of a little rusty looking to me. It's brown, but it can pass for a rusty wire. And so I just use my little wire curling tool to add the curls on the ends, and then I just take strips of that homespun as well as some cheesecloth, tie that on the end, and just make it look just so primitive country cute. I just love that so much. And so that pink little paddle that you see up there in the right corner, I got questions about that the last time that I used it, but that is a mask tool that you can find at Dollar Tree or anywhere any kind of makeup is sold. You can get those. They're little silicone tools, and they're used to put makeup on or mask or whatever. And so we just use them for when we hot glue so that we don't burn our fingers, and they just work great. So then I'll just continue to go around and just, kind of scrunch and glue and scrunch and glue. And then for some more embellishments, I'm using another one of those grungy candy canes. Well, actually, it is a pipe cleaner. They were red and white, and then I grunged them up on a recent video that you can see how I do that. And so I just use them for little embellishments like this. So I wanted some a little bit smaller. So what I did is I cut them apart, and then because they were a little flimsy, so what I did is I just took my Stiffen Quick and just sprayed them so that they would be a little bit stiffer. And so then for embellishments for the top of my Santa hat, or the side of my Santa hat rather, I'm just using some pip berries that I got from Hobby Lobby, and then some greenery, and just kind of tying all of that in, just gluing everything with some hot glue, making sure that everything is down. And then also I add just a little just some jewelry cording that I get from the jewelry section, and I just just make just a little regular bow. I just really like all the little details. Guys, y'all hear me say that all of the time. The beauty is in the details. For a little bit more pizzazz for my Santa, of course, this is totally optional, but I am choosing to use a little bit of glitter on the hat. And so I don't want it to get on my Santa face. So what I'm doing is just taking a paper towel and just covering that up. And then I take my Craft Bond. It's just Elmer's spray, adhesive spray, and then I just spray it, and then I just sprinkle on some little glitter. Now this glitter is Diamond over from Hobby Lobby. Y'all know my favorite store has all my favorite things. And so then I just spray the front, then I spray the back. Again, this is totally optional, but at Christmas time we always love a little sparkle. If you love country primitive crafts just like these, you may enjoy these videos as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do, because I would love to have you become part of my community. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you in the next video. God bless you, and we will see you very soon.